Hello, everyone. I am so happy to have Dr. Janelle Howe, widely known as the Vagina Rehab Doctor. She is a pelvic floor dysfunction expert. She's been featured in Essence, US News, Insider, Very Well, Therapy for Black Girls, Nicole, and Well Good. Since 2020, she has grown her social media following to over 300,000, with IG and TikTok carrying her largest fan base. Her unique style has made every pelvic floor concern that you can imagine incredibly easy to talk about and even more entertaining to learn from her. She's dropping this tonight, y'all, for pelvic floor therapists, professionals to market their services so that the people they want can find them with ease. Let's go, let's go, let's go. Vagina Rehab Doctor, welcome to Pelvic Health Network. Thank you so much for joining me.
Absolutely, Rebecca. I'm excited. I really love what you're doing with the Pelvic Health Network. And I can't wait to talk about marketing because, listen, we don't go to school for marketing. We go to
Yeah.
school to learn about the body and anatomy and kinesiology. But, baby, when we're out there trying to find our clients, we need to talk about marketing. So I love that you have this platform, and I can't wait to talk. I can't wait to talk.
Yeah, we don't talk about marketing. That's the first thing I learn is that you can't sell anything if nobody sees you. You can't.
Exactly. And not just sees you, but if you don't talk about how you can help them, if you don't direct them to the offer, then it's not a business. It's like a hobby. And
Ooh.
so it's so many things that we can talk about. And I'm excited that we're talking about pelvic health and business because pelvic health professionals are usually so passionate. Like we care, we really want people to get better. And so if we master our marketing skills or at least just improve on and keep growing in it, we can help so many more people. Um,
Yeah.
so that's what I'm excited to talk about.
Okay. I want to talk about you first before we actually get into the marketing because to me the marketing follows the essence. I'm sorry. I had so much fun preparing for this interview. I'm telling you.
I
I
laugh,
had so
laugh.
much fun. The essence is what gets me. You can talk about pelvic health, but you can't make someone with cancer tight pelvic floor muscles having pain with intimacy feel as comfortable unless you bring it like you do.
Yeah.
I've never seen anything so entertaining, and you bring some really heavy topics out that will make anyone feel comfortable. Even the I would say even the hard crowd, which would we're going to get into, but
Yeah.
particularly hard crowd is very religious, very confined people, and
Right.
yet you're reaching them too.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I love that social media allows you to be yourself if you allow yourself to be. Because social media doesn't stop you from having personality, from being authentic. Because let's be for real, in the group chat, y'all, we're going off like we're having fun talking about stuff. But I think sometimes we think as pelvic health professionals that we have to be rigid and we have to be professional. And yes, we do want to be professional, but we want to make people feel comfortable and we want them to feel like our content, because we all have content. We want people to we want people to feel that our content is relatable. And more than anything, we got to remember, especially if you're using social media, that when someone is on social media, they're not specifically looking for a medical provider when they log on Instagram. They're looking to be distracted. They're looking to pass time. They're looking to be entertained. They are maybe looking to learn as well. And so I like to keep that in mind. Like social media is supposed to be a fun place. It's called social media. So I think that's important to keep in mind. Stay true to your authentic self. Don't be afraid to say what you want to say exactly how you want to say it, as long as it's not disrespectful or crude or anything like that. So I think we should keep that authentic, real conversation, because we need to make sure our language is easy to understand and also something that people are going to want to continue coming back to.
I mean, that's so true. You said entertaining, first. And you're right. It's a platform. It's a social media platform. And I'll be honest with you, it clicked for me with that video you did with your dad. You had all your tools out. You had your pelvic models. I even think you had, I'm not even sure if you had the silicone thing
Yeah.
yet, but the silicone vulva. And he's just sitting there. You had him and you were filming him just sitting there, like looking and inspecting all of the tools of your trade. And I was just like, oh my gosh, this is the funniest thing ever. Like, and to me, it clicked for me. It was just like, this is entertaining, but it's also like important for anyone bringing tools home. Like when you are dealing with the conditions that and we're going to get into that, but dealing with the conditions of like vaginismus and pain with sex, and you have tools, do know this
Yeah.
is the response that you are going to get,
Yeah.
understanding, but also like, what am I looking
Yeah.
at?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And
Totally.
you do that, like you bring it in such a raw and real and fun way that it makes me want to, it keeps me on there. Like I'm watching all the way through.
Oh, I love that. Thank you. Because listen, that's hard to do. And we can talk about that. Like generally speaking, those long videos, people are just not watching. Because the attention span is not there. And again, it's social media. It's called Instagram. So you got to be instantaneously grabbing people's attention. And if you're not, then obviously the engagement is not going to be there. But I want to emphasize that, like, even if you're not like a super entertaining person, that's okay. The important thing is that, like, you're bringing your authentic personality to your marketing, because that people can see through, like, is she just trying to put on to seem a certain way? Or is she talking to me like she would be talking to me if we're just sitting at the dinner table and you're trying to describe to me this pelvic floor condition? Like, keep it to who you are. Like, how do you talk to your friends? If you had your best friend was struggling with peeing her pants every time she got on the treadmill, like, how would you tell her? So I think that's what we want to keep in mind, because if someone's trying to be like me, but they're not naturally like me in terms of like my craziness, because I can be pretty, sometimes I look at my own content and I'm like, ooh, did I do that? Like, did I say that? But that's me. And that's kind of like, I got that from my dad. You talked about my dad. He's kind of like that as well. So bring your authentic self to social media. And there's also places to be a bit more serious. It doesn't mean that we can't. Like if I do a public speaking engagement at a university, I'm not going to be acting the same way that I do on Instagram. But like that's part of marketing, like knowing when is it relevant to make it a little bit lighter? When is it relevant to make it a bit more serious? But always keep your natural, authentic self shining through, because that's what people are going to fall in love with.
How do you keep that off the stage though? Like if you're at a conference, actually, because
Yeah.
that's part of your marketing. Like you can't leave that aspect out of it because people who are following you have seen that. I
Right.
mean, and also we've seen you like present in a way on social media, when you are talking about pain with, I mean, you're talking about like really serious, very sensitive
Right.
issues. Like
Right.
you're not doing doggy style or, like
Right.
making crazy faces and things like that. So you do bring all your personalities out, but do you ever also bring some of that on stage at conferences?
Absolutely. Yeah. I actually just presented at a church on Saturday, and I talked about the implications of pelvic floor muscle dysfunction, how it impacts our self esteem, our social life, and our love life. This was at a Seventh-day Adventist church. Like I was raised Seventh-day Adventist, still am, which means that I'm a Christian, but I go to church on the seventh day of the week. That's the biggest difference from other Christian religions. But we're fairly conservative. I don't even have my ears pierced because I learned that I'm not supposed to have like jewelry and stuff. So I didn't let that stop me. Listen, we were talking about orgasms. We were talking about how men, they have an erection in like 15 seconds, but you need a little bit more foreplay. Like, dude is ready to go. And like, you look up and he's ready. You need to take time and ask for what you want. So like, I didn't let that stop me. But at the same time, it still wasn't the exact same aura and like energy that I have on Instagram. I'm completely just like, on Instagram, anything goes, right? In a church, in a sanctuary, it's a bit different, but that doesn't mean that I'm not still making it funny. I'm not still making it real, like saying things that someone may not say from the front, but that needs to be said. Like someone needs to say that we're struggling with this stuff. We
Mm.
need to be real, like stop acting like we have to keep when people need you to validate them. People
Yeah.
need you to make them feel seen. And that's what's going to help people to take out their debit card and pay when it's time to work with you, because they feel like they've connected with you. They feel like your messaging is resonating with them. And so yeah, sometimes I bring out that personality, but
Yeah.
I try to make sure I'm still respectful of the environment, of course.
I'm really sensitive to that, Janelle, because so I was raised not Seventh Day, but we kept Saturday as a Sabbath. So it was a fundamental Christianity, where we kept the Sabbath from Friday night to Saturday night. We kept a lot of the Jewish holidays, a lot of that. And I remember this was like, I might have been close to 16, 17. I had been like cleaning my parents' house and like painting, and I was probably doing something I wasn't supposed to do and being nosy. And
Mm-hmm.
I saw a note kind of like out in between like my mother's Bible. And it was like to the, you know, basically it was like asking a question that she wanted to talk to the minister about with pain with sex.
Mm.
And like she had written it out. My mother had beautiful handwriting and she
Wow.
had written it out. And since then, she's had a stroke. And so I know I'm like sharing this publicly, but you just like awaken like that memory of like,
Yes.
yes, women in especially church who are not getting that kind of guidance, from the ministry, or probably, feeling ashamed about how
Mhm.
much they're in pain with sex. Like
Right.
you are reaching them. And that's hard to do
Yeah.
in a
Yeah.
way that makes them feel good about what they're receiving.
It was a beautiful experience, honestly. I wasn't even supposed to be presenting. So I do something called Sabbath School every Saturday. I'm sure if you guys go to church on Sunday, you've heard of Sunday School. And so I'm one of the Sabbath School teachers for my church here in Chicago. It's called Shiloh SDA Church. And one of the ladies that I do the Sabbath School panel with, she's a doctor. She's a medical doctor, and she couldn't be here this past weekend because she's in Australia. So she called me last minute and was like, "Hey, can you fill in for me at this women's empowerment conference and talk about pelvic health?" I was like, "You know I will." You know I will. So it was accidental, but when I tell you previously, because I started my business like in the pandemic. So I'm
Mm.
used to primarily sharing my stuff on Instagram, on TikTok, online, being fairly free because I'm not speaking to just a church audience. Now, if you go to church and you believe in God, that's fine, but it's not like a spiritual or religious platform. So for me, I feel more comfortable in that setting. So going to the church this past weekend and just talking openly to women who I know are struggling, because 1 in 4 Christian women struggle with sexual dysfunction.
Is that right?
Yeah, that's like billions of women. The rates of sexual dysfunction, if you grew up religious, not just Christian, just religious, is so much higher. Even for vaginismus, because that's what I specialize in. Most of the people I work with grew up religious, even if they're not now. Most of them waited until marriage, and that's when they found out that they had vaginismus on their wedding night. So, like me talking and being on stage and finally being in the environment that I grew up in, but bringing my passion subject to the church was beautiful because I was getting bombarded after I spoke. Like I couldn't take one step without someone saying, like, "How do I get in contact with you? Like, I want to talk to you. How do I find you?" I was like, wow, I've been underestimating, thinking that because the church has been known a certain way, that I wouldn't be as, I guess, appreciated in that setting. But no, they're hungry. They're hungry because who else is talking about it in a church setting?
Wow. No, I mean, no one. They're not you hearing it from the pulpit. This reminds me in my did a residency in women's health physical therapy. And I promise you, my first year, I treated more doctors than I was even like expecting. But doctors who residents, fellows who were also dealing with vaginismus, but I encountered a few, like you said, who hadn't consummated their marriage, had been married. One woman had been married 3 years and never had sex.
Oh,
And
listen, that's like we work with women, and I say we. I just hired Dr. Martina Mappa.
yeah,
She's on the
yeah,
directory, y'all.
yeah.
She just started with us with the Vagina Rehab Doctor team in October of last year. So she just passed the 6 month mark. She's doing amazing. We've worked with women and people who have had vaginismus for 16 years
Mm.
in a marriage with no sex, no intercourse. There's other ways to have sex that don't center around penetration, but no intercourse. And man, this past maybe 2 weeks ago, we got a message that our first client got pregnant after
Mm.
struggling with vaginismus forever, 11 years in her marriage, and she got pregnant. Like and it goes back to marketing, because she, who I hired, Dr. Martina Mappa, she actually helped me to believe in just that. Before October, I was talking about everything. I don't know if you guys have noticed, but my content has shifted to more painful sex and vaginismus.
I will say, going back, that's true. Because you
Last
were talking
year,
about everything,
everything
leaking,
under the sun,
constipation. Okay.
everything under the sun, which is not bad, because we as pelvic floor physical therapists, we know how to treat a lot of stuff, right? If you pee your pants, come work with us. If you're constipated, we can help you. If you have pain with sex, come on. But it's kind of hard for people to remember your name when they think of a problem if you're talking about every single thing. But I
Mm.
promise you, if someone says vaginismus, they're gonna think of me. If they've been following me, they'll know, like, go call the vagina rehab doctor, because she got you. So that's one thing. And I'm not saying all of us have to only talk about one thing, but it can be definitely helpful for marketing, because many times when your clients come to work with you, it's not because they just found you the prior day. Many times it's because they've been hearing about you over and over again, and then they finally take that step to work with you, or to sign up for your class, or to sign up for your program, and then maybe down the line they then sign up to work with you one-on-one. So it's the repetitive nature of, like, what are you presenting to the world? What do you want to be known for? Do you want to be known for the pen? Do you want to be known for the pooping? Do you want to... And you can do it all, because Walmart does it all. They're not just selling cell phones, they're selling everything. But that's what has really helped me. And Dr. Tina actually helped me to do that. So shout out to community and actually getting help, because before her, I was like, no, what if someone doesn't have vaginismus and I'm only talking about this? And business has been better since I've actually focused in on painful sex. Like, if sex hurts, we got you.
Okay, I have so many questions about that, because pelvic health is already a niche field, is it not? We're talking about pelvic health um, in physical therapy, especially,
Yeah,
right?
it's niche. Yeah, I would agree, because we're not just physical therapists; we're pelvic floor physical therapists. We're like
Mm-hmm.
mainly just the pelvis. So
Yeah.
I would agree.
Okay. So we're dealing with an already niche, very kind of like I would say highly specialized area where a lot of people are not very comfortable, with treating, across our own profession. Even our physical therapists that are interfacing with doctors, great. A lot of doctors are not even seeing those patients. For you to go 11 years in a marriage, and it takes you finding somebody on social media to finally help you have sex, have a baby, like that's huge. So you're already niche just being a pelvic health therapist, but you're saying sub niche down even further.
I'm saying that's worked for us. Listen, if
Wow.
you not having a niche is working, you probably don't have to. But for me, I had way more fulfillment treating vaginismus than like incontinence or prolapse. Other
Okay.
people, they relate to prolapse. They themselves have been through it. Or, there's usually a reason why people niche down. Like for me, I have polycystic ovarian syndrome, which is still a pelvic health condition. and it intersects with sex, because if you can't get pregnant, right, because you're not ovulating, that's sexual, that's pelvic health, right? So for me, even since I was little, like I've always felt like not broken, but kind of defective in the sense that like I can't even regularly ovulate. Like I gotta try. I gotta literally watch how much sugar I'm eating because it has a lot to do with insulin resistance. I gotta exercise. It's like why do I have to try to do something that most women and those who identify as such can do, right? So I relate to women and people, my vagina CEOs, not feeling like whole in their bodies. And that's what a lot of people with vaginismus and sexual pain say. It's like, I don't feel like a woman. Not everyone, but that's a reoccurring thing. Like, I don't feel feminine. I feel broken. And so I think I can relate to that, in that I want to use my skill to help them not feel broken, to not feel that way. And honestly, you can feel broken in so many other things. I'm not saying it's only that, but for me, like the energy I get when someone's like, we had sex pain free, let's go, like he got it in, the husband's happy, the family's happy, everybody's happy. I love that. So for me, I was already starting to do sexual pain and vaginismus more, and then it was Dr. Tina who was like, let's do it, let's just go all in on this. And so that has worked for us. I'm not saying that's the only business model that works, but I would encourage it if you already know that one thing that you love. Like half of people I would say would know, like, what's that one thing you like treating? You might as well talk about what you love if you have to talk about pelvic health every day anyways. Why not do something that brings you joy to talk about? And so that's what's been working for us.
Okay, so first things first, we started out authenticity, right? You're talking authentically to your audience. You're using that authenticity that you do, that you have on social media. You're bringing it on stage, you're bringing it in the church, and you're tailoring it to your audience. And we have talked about this too. If LinkedIn is your vibe, you're not going to bring TikTok to LinkedIn, right?
Absolutely.
Like, right? It's like tailor it to your audience, and then also talk about something you're passionate with, because your people are going to resonate with something that means a lot to you, and they're not confused,
Right.
right? They
Right.
know to go to you for this one thing. If there's other things that you have, in the mall, they've already known I'm going to the mall for this one thing. If I need something else, there's other stores, department areas that they can go into, but you're delivering on that one thing, that promise, right?
Absolutely. If I want a laptop, I know I'm going to Apple. Like
Mm.
that's just the first name that comes to mind. And they've branded themselves that way. So that is just one strategy. I don't feel like you have to immediately do that, because again, I didn't start niching down until like October of last year. And I started building my community on social media back in 2021. So it's not like, oh my gosh, you think about this tonight. What is that one thing? No, you don't have to do that, but it's a point of consideration. I think more than anything, and I really think this is what has helped me to build my community on social media and also build regular revenue, because it's not just your following, right? Is focusing on your community first. Before I started doing master classes or having one-on-one coaching, I just was focusing on building up my community on Instagram. That's it.
Wow.
And
Okay.
so now when I had something to offer, like a service, I already had the community there. So I don't have to buy an audience. I don't have to pay for an ad. The people are already there. So I built people up for like a year or two with primarily free education in the beginning. I wasn't really selling much. Intermittently, a master class or a stretch lab. Listen, I was having stretch labs for like $11. So that wasn't, that wasn't, anything significant. But it was like, I'm focusing on building this community on Instagram. I'm focusing on showing up, empowering people, making them feel like, you know what, my pleasure matters, my body matters. I can talk about this without shame. That's what I was bringing to them. And then once the community is already there, and I'm not talking about a big number, I started doing master classes with 1,000 followers. So I'm not talking about a big number. I'm just saying, instead of focusing on all these things, building a funnel, having an email list, doing the, how about you just build up the people first and then offer them something they're going to want to tap in. They've been liking, following you, saving. They've been telling their mom about you, their sisters, their cousins. So, of course, when you have something that speaks to what they're struggling with, they're going to be interested. And so I think that is the number one thing, even if it's not on social media. How can you build up your community, even if it's through a WhatsApp group? Let's say it's a support group, whatever your means is of building your community, do that, build up the community, and then focus on serving them in a way that's financially supportive for your business.
Yeah. I'll be honest with you. I joined your WhatsApp group 2 years ago, and I think you had just started it. And you created the first women of color pelvic floor physical therapy directory in the world. It spans across Africa, the Caribbean, the United States, Canada. I think you have people in the UK now.
Mhm.
And I had never seen someone give so much value for free. Like I'm hearing what you're saying, but I think it just clicked, Janelle. You didn't do any paid ads for your stretch labs, nothing. You had 1,000 followers. You have over 300,000 across Instagram and TikTok now, and not one paid ad.
I've tried here and there recently. I've tried, but I also don't have patience. That's one thing about me. I do not have patience. So I've tried to boost the post, and I'm like, it's not doing anything. Turn this thing off. It's taking my money. So I've tried to boost stuff, but I'm not like, it's not a line item in my budget. Like, oh yeah, I'm paying for ads, $2,000. I'm not yet doing that, and I'm not saying I'm closed off to it. At some point, you do want to start investing in marketing if you want to see a return. But I'm saying so far, most everything, 99% of my stuff has been organic, even before the following, because people are going to see this and say, she has 200,000 followers, of course. No, that doesn't really mean a thing. Most people that follow me are just there for the free information. Most people. So that's for everyone. If you have 5,000 people following you online, most of them are there for your free education, right? It's also about, though, like offering value in your content, whatever your content is. My mom, she does a prayer line every morning at 7:30 a.m. It's free. But the content is the prayers. The content is the talking about the Bible. That's the content. So it doesn't have to be social media, but like regularly show up and present to a community. And then you can figure out, like, how can I serve them with something that I'm good at? And then to me, that is just the no-brainer way to do it, because it's been so much easier to build my business because I already have my community. So like, if I had to come up with a triangle, not a triangle, a 3-step process, it would be: 1, focus on good content. It doesn't have to be social media, but I've done it through social media, right? Another example would be an email community, right? Mm-hmm. You don't even have to go on social media if you don't prefer. If you just want to, drive content to that newsletter or that email community, or it can be an in-person meetup. Like, you meet up every 2 months in Chicago at the park, and y'all talk about, cardiac health, whatever it is, right? Give good content. Is it good? Is it valuable? How is this going to help them? Are they able to get this everywhere else? How are you different? Right? So do that, good content. And then next, that content is going to build the community, because they're going to start telling people. Naturally, they're going to share it. If I post something that's really good, it gets shared. It gets liked. Instagram is like, blow this up, right? And then once you start building the community from the good content, which is really just value, how are you giving value? Then naturally you can offer a service for a fee and build your capital.
Okay. The first 2 things, you're not charging at all. And I want to give some specific examples, because I've seen like this example of like good content. I have seen you use this thing, and I've seen it several times in different posts, but it looks like the head of a penis, that where the mouth and the eyes, I mean, it's the ugliest thing I've ever seen. And I've seen you use it, but then it's like when you say good content, I'm thinking entertaining, funny. It makes me want to just click and just read, okay, what is she actually talking about?
You're hilarious.
Right?
You're hilarious.
Like I mean,
But
seriously, in
it
the way
doesn't
you
have
use
to be funny. It just needs to be good.
mm,
It needs to be, for example, if you have a financial page,
okay.
okay, maybe I should not talk about that. This is pelvic health, right? So,
Yes.
for
Yeah.
example, if you have if you like to talk about incontinence, don't talk about it in the same way that everyone always talks about incontinence. What about the women that are peeing on themselves during sex? And I'm not talking about squirting. They know they're peeing on themselves. It's very clear that it's pee. Okay, even though both of them come from the bladder, and that's a whole nother subject.
Oh, I didn't know that.
But what other organ can release that amount of fluid down there?
Okay.
It's coming from the bladder. But anyways, that, I feel like we're going off topic, but
I know, I didn't mean to. I mean, with female ejaculation, I'm just like, I thought it was glands. Okay, keep
yeah,
going, keep going.
bring out myths. What do people typically believe around incontinence? How can you
Mhm.
bust those myths down? Like, no, you're thinking that you are weak and that's why you're leaking. Let me tell you that you're probably like holding a lot of anxiety and tension that's causing your incontinence, right? That's a different angle, like bringing out some myths, or like make it a bit more personal. I had a client that I worked with in person when I was working at Northwestern. She had to turn down her dream job because she couldn't make the commute from where she wanted to work this new job to home without peeing on herself.
Mm.
Right? So there was a commute. She had to take the train. She literally had to turn down the job before she came and work with me, of course, because she didn't want to like not know if she would make it to the bathroom or not on the train. Right? This is an example of like making it real, right? Making it relevant, like help people see themselves in your content. And so that's an example where that's not necessarily funny, but it's good. Or you can just go deeper in terms of science, like really explain to people, because we're not getting that at the doctor's office. We're just not. Doctors don't have time to be sitting there educating you on why this is happening, right? They just don't. And so, good content, it builds your community. Eventually, you can offer a service and build your capital. And
Okay, so what you're talking about right there was market segmentation. You are segmenting that individual, that avatar, if you will, who can't get from point A to point B without peeing on themselves. That's a specific type of, you're not just talking about incontinence, pelvic floor therapy. We're good for people to hold their pee in and for you to, all the stuff like you're talking about. I see it all the time. You're
yes,
actually specifically focusing on a segment of the population that has this particular issue that could be keeping them from getting to work.
they cannot perform well at work if you're peeing every 20 minutes.
I have a question for you on that then, because people always fear about time. How am I going to have the time to make all this content if I have to focus on that specific segment? Why is it worth it to focus on the religious couple where the woman has not has sex or penetration hurts versus just focus on all vaginismus?
Sorry,
Why
what?
is it worth it? Why is it worth it to go deep down into that particular person?
Taylor Swift. Her lyrics are so specific. Her lyrics are like, I'm crying on the bed with my red t-shirt on, sad because he didn't want me. Like, the more specific you get, the more they're like, oh shoot, that's me. That's me. And when you're marketing, you need to be speaking to one person. Forget trying to make it sound like it fit, because you want people to feel like you're talking directly to them. And so that's important. Saying y'all, them, if y'all feel like, or that if you are peeing your pants, if you want to get laid, if you want to poop without straining, like make it specific, because that's who we're when people sign up, it's one person at a time putting in their debit card information. It's not everybody collectively saying here, right? It's one person at a time. So I think that's key. And that's what I've learned that over time. That's not something I naturally just started doing. But it makes a huge difference no matter your following. And I have to say this, like, if you want to get more growth on Instagram, going viral can help a lot with that. Right. So that was the first thing that started making my account grow, is when one reel started to get more views. Right. And your following has nothing to do if you go viral or not. So
Where were you? Do you remember what count you were at before you went viral?
yeah, I think it was around 500 followers.
Wait a second. You had 500 followers.
Mm-hmm.
And so what did viral look like for you?
400,000 views.
Do you remember what post that was?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Spill the tea. Let's go. Let's go. Let's do
See,
this.
there was some trending audio. I don't exactly remember the exact audio, but it was some trending audio. And I was just saying, here are some signs that your vagina is angry. That's it. And I started pointing while I was dancing. I was just moving a little bit like this. Incontinence, yeast infections, constipation, painful sex. So everyone was seeing themselves in that post.
Yeah.
They were like, whoa, that's me. And again, at that time, I wasn't niching down. This was in the beginning. It was just pelvic floor. I just wanted people to learn about the pelvic floor. And so that helped me to grow. Not anything crazy, but I think I got up to over 2,000 or 3,000 or something like that. And then more things would go viral. And that's what really helps one to grow. I don't think that going viral is the end all be all, though, because you can attract some people that are not for you. Okay.
Mm.
I did a pleasure post one time and I was like, maybe I should never talk about pleasure ever again. Because there were so many men in the comments like, yeah, I do that. I do that all the time. I know how to do that. So I got more men following me now. And just not that men are bad, but men that are not just putting crazy things in the comments and just not my target audience. So I'm not saying just because you go viral, that's good. Because again, you could just get people that are there for whatever reason, just to laugh, just to get free content. They don't even have the problem you're talking about, right? So I'm not saying that that's the only thing, but it can definitely help to build your content. I mean, to build your following and your community. So that's something to consider in terms of growing specifically on social media.
Okay. So recap. I have to recap because it's just how my brain like works. Authenticity. Definitely like tailoring. I call it segmentation, like because that's just how I can like understand it. But you're segmenting and tailoring your message to one person. So that's a lot of content.
Yeah. I'm not saying that I'm intentionally doing that every single time. Like, you're really intelligent. All right. I'm not waking up like, all right, I'm segmenting today and I'm going to, I wish, and I probably need to, but I'm not saying that I have done that. I'm just saying that, like, don't only just talk about the pelvic floor in this medical, clinical way. Like, how is this impacting people's relationships? How is it impacting their emotions? How is it impacting their confidence? Just things that really people care about, and bring that out more, as opposed to, all right, your pelvic floor is weak and we'll strengthen this by doing these exercises. That's really not always motivating, right? It's great because they might like it. We're talking about building a business. And so if you're building a business, you want to build the need and the desire for what you have, right? You want them to be desiring what you have. And so you have to tap into the things that people hold dear, like their love life, their relationships, being able to have a baby, right? Being able to go on a run and not be afraid that they're going to pee their pants in public. These things, I think, is what drives people to pay you at the end of the day.
When did you start noticing that your social media like was not, just building a community, but it allowed you to eventually leave your W-2? Like, when did that happen in your journey? Because you've been doing this 2021.
Yeah. So last year was my first full year as an entrepreneur. Wow. January 1st, 2023. That was my first year where I was no longer working for anyone else. So last year was first full year, but 2022 in September, that was my last day at Northwestern. And maybe about 5 months before that, I knew I didn't need to be there. So that was 1 year after I started posting and teaching. So again, it's not even just the following. It's the energy, it's the consistency, it's building that community online. And like I wasn't scared. One thing about me, I have never been scared to sell. And I see that a lot among us, especially as women of color, as women in general, not just women of color, women in general, right? Being afraid to sell. And I'm just like, you are offering them the ability to change their life. If they sign up to work with you, sell. Sell. You are serving them, right? Fashion Nova does not care. They're texting me 5 times a day.
Mm.
Shein, whoever, Amazon, they're not
Yeah.
scared to sell to you. So why are you scared? So that's one thing though I think has been cultivated in me since I was honestly a little girl. Like my mom has always been big on fundraising for Christian education. She would do fundraisers and concerts, and she would build money so that people could go to school because private schools are not cheap, right?
Mhm.
So she would do this, and sometimes she would do like these ad booklets, right? Where my dentist, Janelle, go ask your dentist if she could put an ad in this booklet. And I had to walk up to people asking them to give me some money to support me in school. And like, it was scary at that time. But now I'm 33 and I'm like, hey, I'm going to ask for your money because I know that I can help you. I know that we have what it takes to change your life. So that
Yes.
I find that very important. Like we need to get rid of the shame as business owners to talk about our services, especially when you believe in what you're offering. You believe in what you can do. Don't be ashamed. Selling is not like sleazy or anything. You're offering people the capacity to be transformed by you and your business. And so let's just do that. Let's do that.
Oh, something I noticed when I'm looking at your content though, I mean, if I had to like put a percent on it, it's probably what 1% of your content feels salesy. I mean, I don't even know that
Really?
selling, that you're selling until I like scroll and it's the last carousel and it's like the
Mm.
Vag Stretch Lab. I'm
Okay.
like, you deliver so much value. You give, and then you like ask a little bit on the I mean, like how in the world? Like it just doesn't seem salesy.
Well, I think that's just how you perceive it because listen, I perceive it as me. I want everyone to know I'm selling because again, I don't consider it to be sleazy. I want
Yeah.
y'all to know that I'm having this stretch lab. I want you to come move with me. Like I want you to come exercise with me. No, it's not free
I
because
guess I see that and it's just like, oh, absolutely. I want to learn. Like it just yeah, it's not the same thing as Team Move Top and Team Moochie, all of those just popping up. I'm seeing the ill maquillage. I mean, I'm seeing all this salesy
yeah.
stuff, and then I see you and I'm entertained. I'm educated,
Okay.
I'm
Well,
informed.
that's encouraging for me. That's
Yeah.
because like I feel like in business there's like two trains of thoughts. I've
Mhm.
heard from people don't sell every day, don't sell all the time. Serve, 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 then sell. Serve,
Yeah.
serve, serve, then sell. And that could be working for a lot of businesses. For me, because I haven't been doing a lot of paid ads, my revenue sort of depends on what I talk about. So
Mhm.
like for me, I don't really have a problem selling. Right? Imagine that Walmart just shut down for a whole week. We're not selling, we're just serving. They selling every day. So like and again, we all have to figure out what do you feel comfortable with because some people do like to serve, sell. But I know even my free content is a blessing. So I don't really have a problem selling something else of even higher value because I get messages from people overcoming vaginismus from my free content.
Okay.
People overcoming incontinence, they're not peeing their pants anymore from free content. So if I know, listen, if you absolutely can't work with me, that's okay. Go save all of my posts. Go through my posts. Do that stuff because it works. I'm still a doctor educating you online. And
Right.
so I feel fine knowing that everything can't be free. And when I have something to offer that supports the health of my business, I shouldn't feel shameful to talk about it when I'm helping everyone who is willing to learn and read my captions.
Okay. Okay. So let me bring this full circle, right? If I want to sell on platforms, and I know we've talked about this before, but LinkedIn, it's an untapped market right now, and you're on there. But if I'm looking and I'm trying to get to that audience, and this is for me, so I'm going to kind of steal you for a little coaching sesh,
Oh,
right?
I don't know if
Steal
I
you
can
for,
on this
I'm
one.
just saying for LinkedIn, it's a different audience, but I'm finding that video content goes really far. There's a doctor I'm following, and he'll bring a lot of his TikTok or Instagram videos onto LinkedIn. And I'm like, that's really working for him. That's working for him. But I'm finding that when I have to do like a talking head video, I'm less likely to put that out. I'm just less likely to like really feel confident with that. So how would you say someone like me should start out who's like not really comfortable just yet, just talking right to a camera, just me and the camera?
You're doing it right now.
So basically use what you do best. Just start there.
Heck yeah. Heck yeah. Heck yeah. Don't do what you do worse.
Hmm.
Do what you do best. And also, I don't know that I can help that much. I was going to ask you for tips for LinkedIn. I because I want to get on LinkedIn, but I feel intimidated by LinkedIn. I'm like, I ain't got no followers over there. How the heck am I going to build this up? Where do I even start? How do you grow over here? Like, what are the strategies over here? I just don't know it.
That's
And
crazy that you say that. So you've been featured in these magazines on these different platforms, US News, and that was all from your Instagram. I think LinkedIn when I think of those big, like media heavy.
no, ASEC, the
Wow.
American Association for Sex Educators and Sex Counselors, they had me do their keynote address last year, speaking
Come
to
on.
like over 100 sex therapists. They reached out because of what they've seen on Instagram. The American Medical Association reached out to me to speak. People who write books, like companies, have reached out to me to write a book. I've turned those offers down. But no, because guess what? Those people are on Instagram.
Let's go.
Most people are on Instagram. Now, that doesn't mean I would not sign up for a class on how to grow on LinkedIn because I would love to get over there. I just don't know. It's different. It's new. Like I would love, like, let's chat after this. Let's talk
Wow.
because I want to get over there so bad because I know I can help even more. Because at the end of the day, we need the OBGYNs to learn about the pelvic floor too.
Thank
Like
you.
we need the sex therapists to have relationships with us and know how to contact us and refer and all of that. And I know it'll be a lot easier if I get over there. I really just don't know.
Me and I said in my residency, so many of the patients I was treating were doctors,
I don't.
right?
When you said that
All
in
over.
my mind, I was like, "Dang, how did you do that?" I don't know how.
Wow. All right. So Janelle, to me, it's like, okay, I'm taking away nuggets for real because you found something that works for you.
Mm-hmm.
We get so distracted. I get so distracted. I'm talking about myself. I get so distracted with social media because I'm looking at what's working for you and I'm trying to apply it for me.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And what you're leaving me with is I need to be authentic. I need to just be myself, right? And work with a platform that's been working for me. Work with content, work with a subject, a topic that's been working for me and stick with that. Grow my community around that.
Right, and also like learn the. For example, like I was saying, like if I go to speak at a church, I'm not going to have the exact same energy as I have on Instagram. Okay. For Instagram, there are certain things I feel like everyone should know. You don't want to just be posting long videos, especially if it's like a reel. A reel is
Mm,
made to be short and catchy. It's probably not going to reach a big audience. If it's like, All right. And so today we're going to be talking about the pelvic floor. This is the attachment point. That's not going to capture anyone. Well, maybe a few people. Your mom will like that post, and maybe your best friend and a few others, right? But you want to keep those real short because you want to increase the chances of people watching the full thing.
What are you talking about? 15 seconds, 20 seconds? Like how short?
Like 5 to 8 seconds. Not
Five
every
to
time,
eight.
but for a reel. Now I go live and I speak for 15, 20 minutes.
No, I've seen you have had 5 to 8 seconds. And it makes me actually, because if I don't get all the stuff in the captions, it makes me watch again. Does that add to watch time?
Yeah, if the content is good. Now I'm not just saying you make some random and it's not interesting, whatever. But
Yeah.
you're gonna increase your chances of that. So this is just an example of what I'm saying. I'm not saying only be your authentic self and not try to learn the platform that you're on. Right? Learn the
Mhm.
rules of the land. Like learn the rules of the land. If you're trying to come to LinkedIn, maybe you should talk to someone who has grown their following, ask them what they're doing, right? Or if there's a class on it, you should take it, right? But in addition to that, bring out what you do naturally. Like what do you have fun with? Do that. Like I think it would be cool if there was like a reel like showing you setting up your video and your cam and you're like, I'm about to go into the hospital today. Something short caption. It's like showing you in your element. That might take off because what you're doing is so different. So yes, you're in pelvic health, but you're making it a network. Like that is creative. So learn about how you can thrive in the specific land that you're trying to market on. And I'm not saying you can't get started, right? Because I think eventually I'm just gonna start posting on LinkedIn, even if I don't know, right, the
Mhm.
stuff. But it would be of my benefit to like learn some strategies on like what are people doing on LinkedIn that are working. And so that's what I would encourage.
Okay. I want to like for therapists to just kind of know because maybe not all of us know, maybe you don't offer this, but a lot of us just need feedback. And I've seen you do this, like kind of, in smaller settings, definitely WhatsApp group, like you give so much love and support there. If somebody wanted to work with you or learn from you, is that something in your capacity that you're doing as well on the marketing front for specifically pelvic health professionals, in addition to what you're doing with your clients?
What I have been considering doing this summer is a social media 30-day course of like how to grow your audience. Again, what has helped me to be successful as a business owner is that my audience was already there. And I think a lot of times we're trying to do both at the same time. We're trying to grow the following, we're trying to grow the audience, we're trying to grow this, and we're trying to have a paycheck. And I think many times those are two different things. And so it can make it difficult, right? So I would love to do something like that this summer. I don't have any specifics right now. But I would love to do something this summer for business owners who want to use social media to build their community through good, relatable content so that they can then use that same community to build a thriving business. And I think everyone should know, like, if you're on social media, if you have a page, I feel like we all should know how to grow our community on there, so that we can get more people to learn about how we can help them.
Oh, absolutely. No, for sure. And just the feedback though, like the feedback of not being dry, of mixing it up, of talking to the one person, maybe talking to several groups of people, but with this specific issue, like
Right.
that's the feedback. The value that you're bringing is actually like even doing something in a group format, like totally, I would sign up for that, right? Because Instagram is still like not my main platform. I've been getting more leads, like you said, on LinkedIn,
See,
right?
this is why I want to talk to you. Okay, so
Yeah.
listen, because we're talking about marketing, right?
Yeah.
What's one thing you're doing? Because one thing that you're doing to get leads on LinkedIn, I'm sure can help people with
Yeah.
Instagram and TikTok too.
LinkedIn was a learning curve though. So you know how you follow someone on Instagram. You got
Mm-hmm.
to connect with them. I didn't realize it's the connections that
How
actually
are you
get
connecting
you.
with people on
So
LinkedIn?
it's literally the click of a button. It's like I was following folks And that just, I thought that that was like, oh, you know, like actually following them so that I can message them. And like, you have to know, actually, like, figure out how to connect with them, click the drop down, do whatever, and ask to connect. And so if there was a doctor or if there was a surgeon that I knew, I'm like, I want to get in touch with this person. They're doing so many of the same surgeries that I want to see people for real early on. You know, I am targeting women in the hospital after C-section. I want to see them before they even go home, right? I want my program to be taught to therapists in those hospitals so that they can see those women before they go home.
Okay,
So I needed to connect with the doctor and the message.
but what
And
does
then
that mean?
that means that I was brought into their community, and everyone they're connected with can now see that they just connected with me.
Okay, so is there a button that says connect?
Yeah.
And that's all you do. You just press that button.
I started to connect instead of follow, and it switched something with who was then starting to connect with me and asking to connect. And so then when I would do a live like this, we're on live on Instagram, right? LinkedIn right now. Can't figure out StreamYard with Instagram. So please, somebody drop in the comments if you could help me out. But right now we're live on LinkedIn.
Mm-hmm.
And so their connections, those doctors I want to reach or those hospital CEOs, I have a few connections that are hospital CEOs, their connections can see me.
Got it. Okay.
Right. And
Yes.
those connections are heavyweights, right? Someone who's a director of, you know, a medical center or something like that, that's a heavyweight because then all their followers and their connections can see me too.
Right. And I want to bring out like just the importance of community, because and community doesn't always mean 100 or 1,000 people. Community is what's happening here, because I wouldn't have known that if I didn't have
Yeah.
talked to you just now. Because I
Yeah.
wasn't going to Google how do you get a doctor to notice you. I probably wasn't going to do that tonight or tomorrow or next week. So the importance of collaboration, connection, and community, that is also another way to market your business. And that's something I'm just starting to do this year, is like trying to build more relationships with other professionals like OBGYNs, sex therapists, sexologists. That has been something new that I'm doing because the pandemic kept me inside. Like, I'm just doing social media, but now it's a goal of mine to do more of that, because we can't do it alone as pelvic floor physical therapists, especially when most people don't even know about a pelvic floor therapist. Like, if we're
That
just
part.
honest, like there's so many people that haven't even heard of the pelvic floor and a pelvic floor physical therapist, but most people have heard of a medical doctor.
Yeah.
Most people. And so it would make sense to make some connections like that. So thank you for sharing that. I'm going to try that and see if that helps me to reach more people and like connect with other professionals in this field, especially for sexual wellness and sexual pain, because it's my thing.
Yeah.
So I appreciate you bringing that nugget.
No, I mean, honestly, I want to close with this because I think that this needs to be said again. I dropped it, but I'm going to pick it right back up and just say it again. What you're doing with visibility for women of color physical therapists, right? For
Mm-hmm.
me to even have some of the confidence that I've had over the past 2 years, I'm telling you, it is solely from that WhatsApp group that you created for women of color pelvic floor PTs. Like, we tell you that in there. We show a lot of love. I mean, at least, you know,
Yeah.
most of us, I feel like, do appreciate the work that you do for us. But the visibility that you're bringing to us is second to none. And I've been a part of a lot of organizations. And so you're not just like giving us confidence with marketing and getting our message out.
Yeah.
You've created a community where we now are feeling like, okay, feeling good. I'm going to reach out to this person. I'm going to reach out. This is a connection that I want in my circle. And
Yeah.
so, like, I can't thank you enough for that, really.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I love that because it makes me feel encouraged to keep pouring into that community, keep pouring into this directory. I feel so passionate about the fact that we need more representation for women of color pelvic professionals.
Mm-hmm.
The numbers of what's going on with Black women in medical care, it's tragic in terms of the rates of death, in terms of the mortality rate for cervical cancer, in terms of fibroids, and why we have so much more. And they're not found until by the time we need a hysterectomy. And there's just so much impacting Black women at disproportionate rates in comparison. And so it really does help our community, our patients, to feel a bit more comfortable when they can work with someone that can relate on a cultural, racial level. Not all the time, and I'm not saying every Black provider is a good provider, but I think it's so important. And that was it for me. Like, I just noticed, like, hey, how come most of these directories, like, there's no diversity here? And I was just sending people their way, because people would message me all the time. How do I find a pelvic floor therapist near me? And I'm like, just sending them free marketing. No one paid me nothing. I was just sending them patients. And I was like, hey, wait a minute. How about I just start a directory for us? Because we're not getting any visibility enough, at least anywhere else. So thank you for joining and what you're doing with the Pelvic Health Network to get it out with media, because we need media to get our message out. And so I'm excited for where things can go. And I hope we can do more of this. Are you going to Jamaica?
Oh, yeah. I'm for the record, if the vagina rehab doctor is putting on a retreat, like, I would have to be pregnant, which, yes, I'm definitely like that. I'm trying, but I'm telling you, I'd have to be with child, right? About to give birth to not go. Like, absolutely, like, hands down. Yes, I'll be at Jamaica. I'm with my camera, my video equipment, definitely documenting the whole thing.
Yeah,
yes.
I'm excited. So for people who don't know, like, we have a retreat once a year for the pelvic floor physical therapists in our directory. And so last year we were in Georgia. This coming year in October, we're going to Montego Bay, Jamaica. It's going to be educational, but also restorative, right? Because burnout is real, and we got to take care of ourselves in order to take care of our community. So I'm excited to connect with y'all. And thank you for having me on this interview today.
You are so welcome. You have so much love. I know you can't see it, but there's so much love for you in the chat. Definitely,
I'll be reading these. Like, I can't see
anything.
I got the
wondering of you
watching.
This has been wonderful. Thanks, everyone who joined live tonight. Definitely leave your comments. You ask questions. This has been amazing. I'll put all of this out to the vagina rehab doctor. Janelle, thank you so much for joining us.
Bye, y'all. Thank you.